My name is Matt, and I am renting a small apartment in Zagreb, Croatia. And I feel like I've managed to turn my little apartment into a proper jungle haven. I love having a ton of plants in my apartment because they add such a living, organic element to my interior design. The shapes, the colors, the vibes that plants give off are immaculate. And I want to share with you a couple of plants that are really adding to that jungle feeling inside my apartment. These are some of my favorite plants of all time. Plants that are easy care, grow well for me, and that look amazing. I'm also going to be showing you how I style them and make them look good within my house. Grab yourself a cozy little snack, a little drink, and let's get going. The first plant that we're going to be talking about is a really special one, and it is my begonia white ice. And I'm pretty sure you can see why I absolutely love this plant. It lives smack in the middle of my coffee table. Over there is a north-facing window, and this plant is an absolute beast. I've had this plant now for definitely well over a year. I required it as a pretty medium-sized specimen, and it grew amazing for me. However, the reason why it's growing so well for me is because I'm growing it in semi-hydro, more specifically pond. I couldn't imagine growing this plant in any other way because this is an extremely thirsty plant. Begonias in general are thirsty, but the begonia white ice is, oh my god, she is such a thirsty hoe, so freaking thirsty. And if it weren't for semi-hydro and me growing it in pond, I would not be able to keep up with the watering requirements of this plant. But ever since moving it into pond, it has been growing so freaking well. Now, fun story, this plant had thrips really badly about a year ago, and I had to chop it back completely. I chopped it back to nothing. There was only stems left from it. And this is what she grew into after that chop. And oh my god, I couldn't be happier with this plant. And I know this is such a common begonia, it's a very hyped begonia, but I think it's hyped for a very good reason. It's just gorgeous. The growth structure, the leaves, the polka dots, it's just beautiful. And I just love having this plant as a centerpiece of my coffee table. It's the first thing you see upon entering this space, and it's just so eye-catching, so beautiful. However, I will say it's definitely taken over this coffee table, and whenever I'm watching the TV that's right in front of me, I do kind of struggle looking at the TV, and usually when guests come over and stuff, I do have to move it, but it's a sacrifice I'm willing to make because it just looks so good in this spot. However, I will probably have to chop it back eventually, or at least trim it a little bit, because I will admit it's getting a little bit out of hand. And this thing does tend to dry quite quickly, and also it does have a tendency to drop a lot of its leaves, which can be a little bit annoying. It does create a lot of dust and debris, but I don't mind it one bit, because I get to enjoy this gorgeous, stunning plant. And plants like this, plants that are so bushy and 360, really add that fun and jungly element to my home, which is why I absolutely love this plant. This is a plant that I can recommend to any beginner plant parent without a single doubt because it is just so easy. So if you haven't, I highly recommend giving the begonia white ice a try. It is truly a showstopper in my collection, and I cannot imagine my collection without this plant. Now, the next plant that we're going to be talking about actually lives close to the begonia white ice, and it is my Philodendron esmeraldense. And fun story, this is actually the only philodendron that I have left in my collection, which is wild considering I started my whole plant journey with philodendrons, but I feel like philodendrons have kind of gone out of fashion as of lately. However, this philodendron, it just has a special place in my heart. I love the way it looks, I love the way it grows, and I love what it adds to my space. As you can see, it lives right here next to my TV. And yes, another plant that is blocking the view for my TV, but I don't mind it because she is stunning. And it is a plant that is relatively easy, and it is a plant that doesn't require a lot of high light, which is why I love it, and which is why I'm able to even grow it in such a low light spot, because this spot realistically doesn't get as much light as this plant probably would need, but she's still doing fairly well in that spot. By far my favorite thing about this plant is its short internodal spacing, meaning that the space between each new set of leaves is very, very short and compact, meaning that it can stay on a moss pole for a long time. I have never needed to extend the moss pole of this plant, which I am very thankful for, because I hate moss pole chores. I hate extending moss poles. I'm just not here for that lifestyle. And this is actually one of the two only plants that I have left on moss poles. But I don't mind keeping this plant on a moss pole because it looks just so freaking good. And I do want to see some size up, because once these get huge, they are beautiful. Now, this is still a very, very small specimen. These can get absolutely massive. I'm probably never gonna be able to achieve that just because I am growing it in suboptimal conditions. However, if I can keep it around this size and just looking nice and good and bushy, that's all I care about. If it didn't size up any more than this leaf right here, I would be happy, because this is still like a pretty big size. As you can see, it is definitely bigger than my hand. It's about the size of my forearm, and I'm happy with that size. I'm not a size queen. I don't need them huge, okay? This kind of size, perfect for me. It's a plant I have considered getting rid of in the past, but I am so glad that I didn't, and I'm so glad that I found a space for this plant in my apartment, because originally, upon moving here, I actually didn't bring this plant with me. But I knew that I really just wanted it, and ever since putting it in this spot, I have been loving it so much. I get to enjoy it every single day while sitting on my couch, while watching TV. I get to look at this gorgeousness of a plant, and I think it just adds something so interesting and fun to my space, which is why I absolutely love the Philodendron Esmeraldense. Also, I accidentally turned on my coffee machine. So if you can hear that, that's what's happening right now. Whoops! Now this is a plant that I have always loved, but it's a plant that I have recently repotted and put on top of my dining table, and that is the rabbit's foot fern. And I know I featured this plant in my previous video, but y'all, ever since repotting this plant, ever since putting it into this cute little planter and putting it in the middle of my coffee table or my dining table, I have been absolutely loving it. I love the texture of this plant. It is so soft, it's so touchable, it's so fuzzy, I can just like hug it. And on top of that, it is probably one of the easiest plants in my collection. I just love the look of this plant, and I could literally just play with this plant all day long. And this plant has really unlocked my love for ferns, and I would love to add a couple more ferns into my collection. However, I'm scared because I know that this one is kind of like an exception to the rule, because a lot of ferns are extremely finicky. And this one has been nothing but a walk in the park for me. This plant doesn't mind when I neglect it, when I forget to water it, when I don't give it enough light. It's just constantly thriving and looking oh so delicious. Now, I used to grow this plant on my Vicio plant shelf, which does have Barina T5 grow lights running throughout it. However, I have recently moved it on top of the dining table, as I've mentioned, and I don't have any grow lights in this general area. So right now it's only receiving light from that north-facing window, which is quite far away from it. So I don't know if this plant will be happy in this spot in the long term. Obviously, I've put it here only like a week ago, so I can't, that's just not enough time to tell if the plant is gonna be happy in that spot or not, but I'm really keeping my fingers crossed that this plant will be happy in this spot because I just love it. Like, look how cute that looks. Like, it just looks so cute, and I absolutely adore this plant. If you look at it up close, it does have some visual damage. Like, you can definitely see some browning tips, and that's probably due to the many times that I have absolutely forgotten to water this plant. But from afar, you can't tell. From afar, it looks gorgeous, and I just love how I have it styled on my coffee table with this dark tablecloth, with my little fruit bowl, and then just like a little candle guy. I love using the rule of thirds whenever designing or decorating a area of my house. And the rule of thirds in my eyes is basically just stacking 3 items into like a little group and creating one visual image. And the key is to have variety, both in size and texture and color. So we have a big green element, then we have a medium brownish element with like lots of pops of colors depending on the fruit that I have in this bowl. And then we have a small little light colored element that perfectly contrasts the tablecloth. Now, ideally, I would love to have all of this grouped on top of like a huge platter or plate or just some kind of thing to anchor it. However, I haven't found an item that I love or that's appropriately sized or appropriately priced. So I'm still on the lookout for something like that. But I think once I add some kind of platter or just some kind of base for these 3 elements, it will just complete the look and it will look so freaking cute. And I love having like flowers on my table, but why not, instead of a flower, have a pretty plant? And I couldn't imagine a prettier plant to have on top of my dining table than the rabbit's foot fern. Another plant that has been with me for years and that just adds that fun, jungly vibe to my apartment is the Anthurium Wendlingeri. And as you can see, she is absolutely massive. I love this plant. I featured this plant a lot on my channel just because I love it so much. And it is currently still in bloom. I featured this in Flow in a couple of my videos, but I just love it so much because it's a little curly guy and it's just so fun, which is why I love this plant. It's just fun. In general, I'm just such a big fan of trailing plants or pendant plants, and this one is probably one of my like top favorite anthuriums. I just love the texture of these leaves, the way they look, the way they grow. It's a gorgeous anthurium. However, I've definitely had a lot of ups and downs with this plant. This is a plant that I used to drop quite a lot. I've broken quite a lot of leaves on this plant. This plant also did have all sorts of pests, from thrips to spider mites. So our journey was kind of rocky, but where we're at right now, I'm really happy with this plant. I'm really content with it. I'm really loving the way it looks in my collection. As I've mentioned before, this is a plant that I've had for years. So I've really watched it grow from like just a little small planty to this majestic beast that it is nowadays. And I'm just proud of it, man. I'm just proud of this plant. I'm proud of myself. And I'm really happy just to see the literal fruits of my labor. Just to give you a little bit of a up-close shot of the texture of the leaves, it's very leathery, very smooth, but it has that kind of like bluish undertone, which I absolutely love in houseplants. It's my favorite undertone, and it just looks so good. Like, look at it on camera, it looks so good. especially like next to my linearis, next to my platinum. It's just so gorgeous. And I do have another pendant anthurium, which is another one of my favorites. This is the pallidiflorum, and I really love them both. Like the Pally and the Wendy, they are very, very similar. There you can see them next to each other. But I feel like I'm starting to prefer the Wendy just a little bit more. Like upon looking at the little viewfinder of my camera, my eye is just instantly drawn to this plant. Now that could be because of this stunning cutie little inflow, but I don't know, I just freaking love it, and especially love it in this cute little pot that I have it styled in currently. This does live on my Vicio shelf. It does receive Barina T5 grow lights, and this has basically been the spot that this plant has been living at for most of its life. Now, I did move recently, my whole setup, and honestly, ever since moving here, this plant has been doing so amazingly. Like, it has given me such longer leaves than before. Now, unfortunately, the previous one did get a little bit damaged by the spider mites, but that's fine. I am waiting impatiently on a new leaf. However, because of this inflow, I don't think it's gonna happen anytime soon, because obviously whenever your plants do flower, it takes up a lot of energy out of the plant. But the Wendy is just one of those plants that I can't imagine my collections without anymore. It has definitely become sort of a staple, I would say, in my collection and also on my channel. So I would highly recommend the Wendellingeri to anybody, and especially because you get to hopefully witness a cool little corkscrew inflorescence. Also, that was a very loud motorcycle that just passed by. I love living in an urban city. Now we're gonna go deep into the depths of the Vicia shelf, where you can see some stunning, gorgeous Anthurium leaves, some beautiful Hoyas, and then we have the creme de la creme, the queen herself, my Alocasia Friedeck. Okay, I'm gonna have to pull her out because she's just way too big. That's what she said. Look at her. Oh my God, she's massive. Now, this is actually one of the few plants that I have a proper guide on. So I will link that below because I do feel like the guide still applies. And I feel like the things that I said in that video about this plant still apply. But this is a plant that I've had for many, many years. It's a plant that I've previously struggled with a lot whilst growing it in soil, but similar to the white ice, once I transitioned this plant into semi-hydro, once I put it into pond, it was a walk in the park. And ever since, I have been blessed with this gorgeous, stunning growth. And this is a plant that will forever stay in my collection, and it is a plant that absolutely adds a jungle vibe to my collection. Alocasias in general are just some of my favorite plants out there. I just love their growth pattern, I love how fun they are to grow, and I love how challenging they can be, because sometimes I love a good challenge. As much as I love easy care plants that don't require a lot of thinking, I love the feeling of finally figuring out a plant, finally figuring out what a plant wants. And that's exactly the type of satisfaction that I get with alocasias, and in particular this plant, because as most alocasias, they are very seasonal. So during the winter time, they will often decline and not look that pretty, but we are obviously at the peak of summer and she is doing the mostest. Now, I will say, unfortunately, because it is an alocasia, it is currently being attacked viciously by spider mites, and I have tried treating it multiple times, but I am just very low-key when it comes to my pest issues. Like, I'm not one of those people that's gonna freak out, lose sleep over pets. Like, I just don't care. I've been down that road plenty of times, and I know that a little spider mite infestation is not gonna kill my plant, okay? Like, this plant is infested But look at her. Look at her. She looks stunning. So what I do is I will just take her to the shower and give her a little hose off, and that's basically it. Should I do more in order to actually get rid of the spider mites? Yes. Am I gonna do more? Probably not, because I love keeping my plant hobby very low key. I don't like stressing out. I don't like putting in more efforts than I need to. This hobby is supposed to be about joy and having fun and not me stressing out and losing sleep over pests. Okay, so I'm not gonna do that. And clearly the plant doesn't really care. Now, a bigger issue that I have with this plant is that it is slowly but certainly outgrowing the space that it's in. I mean, you saw the previous clips. She's huge. She's taking up so much space on my Vitio shelf, and she loves the Vitio shelf. She loves the Barina T5 grow lights. But I've had this same issue last year where I just had to chop her down, and I gave her a severe haircut, and now she's back to being huge. So I think once we approach fall, I will probably have to trim her back again and give her a pretty severe haircut in order to keep her under control. I have been also potentially thinking about maybe just starting her over from some corms. I don't know, we'll see, but as of right now, I just absolutely love this plant, and I can't imagine not having it in my collection. It's one that adds just such a cool jungly vibe to my collection. And I am gonna take her to the shower and just really quickly wash her. Okay, we're moving on to the bedroom where all the magic happens. And by magic, I mean me struggling to fall asleep for 2-3 hours every single night. But anyway, what is magical in my bedroom is this plant that I love so freaking much. This is my Aglaonema Silver Bay, and can you see how much this thing has grown? Like, regular viewers will know that I love this plant, and regular viewers will have seen this plant plenty of times. But I feel like it's just getting bigger and bigger and bigger, and I love it. This is by far one of my favorite houseplants. This is a plant that I constantly push on my channel, and I always tell everybody that they should get themselves a Silver Bay, because this is literally the easiest plant ever. I know I say that about literally every single plant. However, this really is so freaking easy. It does not mind you neglecting it one bit. Like, I don't remember the last time I watered it. It lives in a very, very low light spot, and it's just loving life and looking so gorgeous. And the best part about this plant, and I don't have any wood. Let me just go ahead and quickly knock on wood. I've never had any pest pressure on this plant, which is amazing considering I've had so many pests throughout my years of growing and keeping houseplants. So it's a miracle when I have a plant that has never had any pests, but I'm so grateful for plants like this. I'm so grateful for plants that don't have pests, that don't require any additional care, but that still look so gorgeous because, oh my God, look at her. Look at her. Oh my God. Also, come on, the vibe with the bedroom, with my bed sheets, with the fairy lights, with just everything. It just fits perfectly within my bedroom. It's gorgeous. Oh! This is the spot that I have it in currently. So it's right next to when you enter the bedroom. And I do have it on this little black stool that just adds some height. And also I really like having this black element in this otherwise white bedroom. I feel like it just adds a nice little contrast to this situation. And I feel like this whole little corner vignette just looks so cool with the Aglaonema Silver Bay over there, with my Benjamina over there, with my Aglaonema Cutlass on the table. It just looks so freaking good. Now, what I am missing, I feel like, is just more art on this wall, or like just a bigger art piece. However, I still love this plant. And it's definitely one that I will hopefully keep for many, many more years. It's one that I will definitely be bringing with me with every single move. Like, when I was moving into this apartment and thinking about which plants to bring, this was one of the first ones that I decided, yes, I need to bring this plant. I love this plant for the way it looks, the way it feels in my space, the ease of care. It's just a lovely plant and it gives me everything that I want out of this hobby. Joy, ease, security, and just a gorgeous splash of greenery in my interior space. I love you. So those were a couple of my currently favorite plants, a couple of plants that I'm really loving in my space that are just adding such a cool jungly vibe to my small little apartment. I do hope you enjoyed this video. Give it a like if you did, subscribe for more content, and do let me know what are some plants that are currently your favorites and what are some plants that you feel bring that jungle vibe to your apartment. I hope you have a super amazing, fabulous, gorgeous day, and I will see you in the next one. Goodbye!